Did you know that by June, 56% of us will have fallen off the wagon with our New Year's resolution? And even if we didn't bother to write it down, but we had a similar goal, only 4% of us will still be getting after it. It's a pretty sad state, wouldn't you agree? Well, in today's podcast, I have a 7-step process that's there to guide you to achieving your goals for 2022. Join me today and learn what those 7 steps are. Aho, my brothers.
Today's man knows who he is, where he stands, and what he aspires to become. Solid in his convictions, owner of his destiny, ever evolving into husbands and fathers our wives and children expect and deserve. We are the masters of our life and the leaders of our homes and community. Welcome to the movement. Stay strong, my brother.
I'm Alan DeMonto. I'm the host of the Evolving Man podcast and the founder of the Awakened Man. I want to get right into today's topic for today to start talking about how we're going to set ourselves up for success in 2022. And I don't want to be shooting down resolutions because for some people they work very well and for others, maybe not so much. But because they do work, I wanted to focus instead on tools and strategies that you can use to implement to ensure that your resolutions become a success and instead of becoming a statistic. Before I want to get into that, I want to look at some recent statistics on the New Year's resolutions. And I was looking around for some information. I thought this was really interesting. And so this is the success and failure rates over the first 6 months of the year when people make resolutions. So he says after a New Year's resolution, after week 1, 75% are still successful at keeping it. So 25% of people have already dropped off on their New Year's resolution after 1 week. After 2 weeks, another 4% disappear. So we're down to 71% people that are still actively pursuing their resolution. And after a month, the number goes down again, down to 64%. 64% of people just have given or are actually on their doing their resolution or doing parts of it, while 36% have decided that it's no longer worth it. And by 6 months, less than half, actually 46% of people have just stopped doing their, 46% of people, I should say, are still actively pursuing their resolution. So more than 50% of people have stopped doing that. And when I saw that, I just thought that was pretty wild, right? And then in comparison, though, think of it this way. So maybe what happens if you didn't even bother to make a resolution? For those people who may have had a similar goal, but they didn't, write it out and make a resolution as you would normally do it, only 4% of those people are still successful after 6 months. And so it goes to show you that if you're not going to write down what it is that you're trying to do and you're just going to keep it in your head, it's obvious that you're not going to be very successful. And that's a painful lesson. I know it's one that I challenge myself with, is that I need to pay attention to writing things down, making plans in the morning, making plans in the afternoon. I really like that concept that Ryan Michler with Order of Man, and he put that out there on a recent podcast. And I thought that was so profound as well. It's a simple strategy. It's what made him so successful. And so that's one of the things that, also we should consider is look at the people that you want to emulate, the people that are around in your life or the people that you follow on social media or other aspects. And what are the things that they're doing that's making it, that make themselves so successful? And what if you were to adopt just one piece of what they're doing? Just how much more successful would your life be? And so, of course, I want to figure out, well, what is the most popular resolutions that people are making? And obviously, I don't think it's going to be any earth-shattering news here, right? It's eat healthier, exercise more, lose weight, save money. It's all the things that all of us want to do, of course. And so it's not that earth-shattering. But what is the trying to figure out why is it that people just don't seem to hold on or follow through with their New Year's resolutions. And so I came up with a list of a few things that I think are the reasons why people are not doing this. And a lot of them obviously resonates with me, but I wonder if they'll do the same for you. The first one is that the time frame is just too long. 12 months is a long time to think about a resolution. And so the problem with that is that because it is so long, we can get bored with it, right? And so the resolution, that's the thrill of it is just short-lived. And so we get excited, which is why we already start to see the percentages drop. We start to see why people don't want to continue because there's just not enough motivation behind it. And the other reason I think that people struggle with resolutions, and I know I have in the past, is that it's just too vague. If you can put a resolution in and say you just want to lose weight, well, how much is that? Because guess what? If I lose 2 ounces of weight, hey, I've lost weight. but maybe I need to lose like 20 pounds or 30 pounds. Maybe that's something that's a little bit more specific, and it's going to take more than a month or 6 weeks or 6 months. It's going to take dedicated effort. So you want to be a lot more specific in what that goal is. And you'll have to apologize. I'm working through a cold here today. And then the other thing is that there is either no plan, as we talked about that, only 4% of people that didn't have a plan actually make it for their resolution, or the plan is just way too aggressive. And so they become disheartened, disenfranchised, say, hey, I can't even make this because their expectations far exceeded than what they're actually able to do. And so it's one of those two sides of the spectrum, right? And the last thing that I think is the most important, I think is what the most powerful reason why we're not achieving our resolutions and why they fall off throughout the year, is that the resolution is not in alignment with who we see ourselves as being. Now I think we're starting to get somewhere. And it was a post I sent out to my to my group, and we talked about in the post. I talked about how to envision yourself, or what you see yourself to be like at the end of 2022. I think it's so important that we understand that you need to have that idea of what it is that you wish to become. And it's one of the 3 keys that I talk about in the Awakened Man program. It's men who are ready to take responsibility for who they are, take responsibility for where they are. They want to take responsibility for who they aspire to become. And they live that in the now. And of course, the last piece that I think is also really important, why I think resolutions tend not to work out for a lot of people, is that they just don't have any type of an accountability structure. There's nothing there to help support them. And so they struggle with it. And when they don't have an accountability piece, that they don't have that someone that's egging them on or challenging them, being that support, whatever that looks like for you, right? Some of us need a kick in the ass, and other of us need a pat on the back and say, hey, come on, let's go, attaboy type of motivation. Whatever that looks for you is what works for you, but do you have that set up? So now I want to take a little bit of time here, and I want to shift a little bit here, pivot. And what I want to talk about is so what can you do? Like, what are the things that you can do that can set yourself up for success in 2022? Now, I've come up with 7 things I'm going to offer you for your consideration. And the first thing should be pretty obvious. You got to choose yourself a goal. You got to assess your life, and what part of your life, if you spent the most time focusing on, that it would give you the most improvement in all aspects of your life. And I think that's a piece that people tend to forget. We think about, well, I want to lose weight. And while losing weight may be a great aspect, a great thing for you to do, it's good for your health, it's good for your vitality and other things. But how about other parts within your life that maybe you don't have, maybe you have other pieces that are more important that will allow you to get to that stage of losing weight. And I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't do that. But what I'm trying to paint the picture for you is to look at the different aspects of your life. And in our work, we look at 6 pillars. Our pillars are financial, physical, spiritual, emotional, career, and relationships. And so you'll want to take time and assess in each of those areas. And we have a tool that we call it an Integrity Challenge. It's an opportunity. It has 5 or 6 questions within, 4 actually questions within each of those, where you get to rate yourself and get a sense of how are you doing in these different areas. And when you look at the ones that are the most challenging for you, you may find that there are little bits and pieces within those 6 structures that you could focus on that will allow you to raise the level that you show up in all aspects of your life. And so that's the first thing you obviously want to do. You want to give yourself some time to assess, use a tool of some sort. It doesn't need to be really in depth. It just needs something to give you a sense of what it is that you'd like to work on, and something that's going to give you lots of energy and expansion for other aspects of your life. So that's the first step. The second step I suggest that you consider is begin with the end in mind. Yeah, it's the old Stephen Covey 7 Habits thing, right? But what I liked about what Covey was talking about is what he's doing is he's challenging us to think about what will your life look like at the end in December of 2022. So 12 months from now, what will your life look like? What will it feel like? What's going to sound like? And in this, what I'm asking you to do is to really engage all of your senses and really get an idea of what is that going to look like, and how does it come apart? How do you see yourself getting up? talk about this in a spiritual training. We talk about it being a mental equivalent. It's that idea that you have in your mind of what you see yourself. And the reason why those of us that struggle with losing weight is that we don't see ourselves as being that thin or muscular or whatever it is that you're looking to do. And because we don't see that, and we struggle with embodying it. And so I really like how Covey had brought that up back in the 80s or 90s when his book first came out. So again, what will your life look like? What will it feel like? What will it sound like? And really dive into all of your senses. Now, I want you to remember one thing here that's really important, is that the things that you're sensing about are the things that you are going to be in control of. So visualizing your spouse being more loving toward you requires you to be that first. Does that make sense? Right. So if you're looking for a change in a relationship or a change in something that's going on maybe with your work and your career or in any of those 6 pillars, what you need to become in order for that change to happen. And it may or not show up exactly as the way you're thinking of it today. And I'm not professing here to say that, that your relationship should change or anything dramatic should change. But if that's the case, and you've done your work throughout the year, then that's probably the best thing that was supposed to happen. And so you don't want to fight that. You want to work through it. And that's where getting mentorship and speaking with friends that you trust can help guide you through that process. So the first step is you're going to get a goal. The second one, you want to begin with the end in mind. What is that, envisioning what that's going to look like in all different aspects of your life and writing that out, right? You're going to write that out as a paragraph, by the end of 2022, my life is, and then as much detail as you can put in there, not with a lot of specifics, but the touches and all of them, how you're going to look and feel and experience. It's really about the experience and the feeling aspect that you're trying to tap into, because how you get there is not going to be determined on day 1. It'll be determined on day 365 because you will have taken all of those steps. So the third step, what's the third step that you can do in making sure that 2022 is a success for you? Well, I want you to come up with one word that epitomizes the type of person that accomplishes that goal. You see, for me, mine was committed. So I wanted to be committed in my life, committed to my health, committed to my marriage, committed to the awakened man, to serving men, committed to giving my effort, the best effort that I can every single day. And I've seen other folks, when I posted this out as well, and through the email list and on social media, I've seen things come up as limitless. I thought that was outstanding. Iconic, that's outstanding. But I want to challenge you to go a little bit deeper. What does that mean for you? What does limitless mean for you? What does iconic mean for you? Those are outstanding words. But really, what is, what is that goal? What is that one word? How are you going to emulate and embody it in one word? So I'm going to ask you, what is your one word that's going to define who you are as a man in 2022 that allows you to achieve that goal and go after it? Now, of course, I talked a little bit about some of the reasons why we don't achieve it. And so step 4 is all about dealing with the saboteurs in our goal achievements, right? In our resolution achievement, trying to become the men that we wish to become. And the saboteurs are really embodied in 3 questions that I get my guys to ask themselves. And the first one is, what obstacles do I need to overcome in accomplishing this goal? You see, if you're not willing to assess that there's going to be obstacles and challenges in front of you, then you're really blinding yourself to what you're really up against. And so you don't have a contingency plan. You don't have a backup plan because you haven't thought about that. So what are those obstacles that you need to overcome in accomplishing this goal? And the second question is, where will I get in my way? So where will you get in your way? And another way I put this with the guys is, what am I lying to myself about this goal? And what am I lying to myself about in different aspects of my life? And so again, where will I get in my way as I'm trying to accomplish this? And maybe for you, it's you have a hard time focusing. You don't make a daily plan, so you're more of the seat of the pants type of guy. So those are things that are in the way, right? And it's also an obstacle that you need to overcome. You need to find time to put that into practice to make sure that you're covering that as part of that contingency plan, right? And so what will I do to overcome these obstacles? Well, that's that third question on the saboteurs is I'm starting to make that plan, that contingency plan. And then how or who will be an accountability partner? See, this is where that accountability piece is going to be in. Maybe it's hiring a coach or a mentor, and maybe it's just reaching out to a good friend and a buddy, and maybe it's your spouse or whoever it is. But the challenge is that I'm asking you to look at is who can be that person that'll help hold you accountable to what it is that you said you're going to do. And however you need that. It may be hard or maybe soft, maybe a mixture of both, depending on where you're at with it, but having that accountability part. So we got 4 steps into place, right? So quick summary here where we're at so far. So we're going to choose a goal. We've already chosen a goal. We're going to begin with the end in mind. We've envisioned it. We know what it looks like. We know what it feels like. We know what it sounds like. We have all the aspects. We have the feeling wrapped into that goal. We've come up with a word now that epitomizes who we are as that man that in order that allows us to accomplish the goal. And we've created a contingency plan for the saboteurs that we know are going to show up. So we're going to deal with those saboteurs. And so then the 5th step is you're going to determine what skills or knowledge that you will need to achieve your resolution. Because maybe there's some training you need to do, right? If you're looking at physical fitness and you're looking to eat well or to eat healthier, maybe you need to visit a dietitian. Maybe you need to research the type of body type you are and what kind of food you should be eating that matches your body style. Maybe there's a workout program or a program that's better suited for your body, your time frame that you can allot to it. These are things or skills that you're going to need to develop and knowledge you'll need in order for you to accomplish the goal. And then what strength, number 6 is what strengths will you lean on to help you get through the tough times? See, we all have strengths. We all come to the table with things that we do really well. And it's those things, those aspects that we do really well. How can we bring those things into our goal, our resolution plan that allows us to overcome that obstacle? It's another one that could be that part of that contingency plan, that saboteur that we can deal with. But what are those skills and those strengths? And maybe for you, it's, for me, it's about, when I get frustrated or challenged with something, then I just dive into doing a little bit more research and get a sense of, where I've come off track, and then I get myself back on track. And so you got to find out what that is, what that strength for you is. Is it analytical? Is it, just pushing through and getting something done? Find out what that strength is, or perseverance, or whatever it is that you need to do in order to make it work for you. And so then step 7 is you need to come up with 3 action plan actions or activities that you can work on in a week. Now we work in week allotments, but ideally you're doing something every day towards your goal. And we go back to Atomic Habits and the ideas back that we learned about that last year, right? And you want to keep it small, 1% increments daily to build momentum, right? We want to be able to reward ourselves because we're setting up little milestones, right? So you set up some of these activities and actions on a weekly basis and on a daily basis. Some of the things may take a little bit longer than a week, a little bit longer than a day to get done. So that's why we work in weeks. But you set yourself up 3 things you're going to get done this week, 3 things that moves you towards achieving your goal. It could be as simple as actually working out 3 times this week if you're doing that, or you're going to learn, you're going to go back to school. So you're going to go get an MBA or something. So you're going to study, set time aside so you can do some studying. I know that was one thing I did a few years back when I was 50 and getting my MBA. I had to figure out my time. How do I get that built into a full-time job? And before I was doing this, as well as everything else on my plate. So I want to come up with 3 final 3 activities on a weekly basis that allows you to achieve your resolution. And it gives you a measuring tool. It gives you a sense of idea where you're at. And in the tool that we utilize, they also have an opportunity to journal about that too, to write down how that's working for them and where they fell off, and so they can get themselves back on the horse. And so those are the 7 tools, that there's 7 steps that you can use in order to have 2022 be a real success for you. So I want to quickly just go through the top points. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. How to choose. You got to go and choose a goal, right? You're going to pick a goal from one of your pillars. You're going to begin with the end in mind. So you're envisioning what that looks like. You're going to come up with that word that epitomizes who you are as a man, that resonates, that allows you to achieve that goal. Number 4, you're going to deal with the saboteurs. You're going to have a contingency plan to deal with the saboteurs that are going to show up, right? And most of the time, it's going to be you who are sabotaging yourself. So what are you going to do to get out of your own way? 5, you're going to get the skills and the knowledge that you need to accomplish your goal. 6, you're going to lean on the strengths that you bring to the table. We all have strengths, remember, guys. So what strengths you're going to bring to the table allow you to achieve your resolution by the end of 2022? And number 7, you're going to set 3 activities to accomplish each week that take you closer towards achieving your goal. And so I want to give you a bonus item, idea that has been worked really well for me, especially in the latter half of 2021. And I've been taking some spiritual classes and very open to wanting to learn and have a deeper connection with God and with myself and who I am. And one of the practices that I started to do here late in 2021 was doing visioning. And so visioning is all about, is not visualizing, as I talked about earlier, but it's really about getting into the sense of what it is that you need to become in order to achieve your resolution. And those are some of the questions. And it's a 15 to 20 minute, give or take, exercise that I go through daily. And I encourage you to look at. And so you can find the visioning on YouTube. Just look for it. Michael Beckwith is the one who came up with it. It's great. I also have one with our program developed. It's guided meditation. It has the 5 questions already built in. And it's a great way to help get you in touch with your intuition. You know, there's a lot to be said about trusting our guts, guys. And so it's a good way to do that is to do a visioning session. And I would recommend doing it daily, but even if you did it 2 to 3 times a week, to get yourself centered and to trust the process, to allow you to bring all of the 7 steps together so that you have a resolution that is powerful. It has purpose behind it. It has meaning. You can feel into it, because those are the things that make it, that carry it through the dark days. And you're going to have dark days where you just going to want to give up. And so I would highly recommend starting the practice of visioning in order to help you get closer to who it is that you want to become. Now, look, there's lots of ways you can do that. You know, I've talked about a lot of different things here to this afternoon or this evening, whenever you're going to be listening to this. And in our program, we use a few different tools. We use a goal assessment tool. We have a 90-day action planner. You know, the point is you've got to find a tool that works for you. I do like the idea of physically writing something down. It gets me more engaged in it. But remember, you've got to remember the old adage, right? You focus on grows. And so if you're not going to write anything down, even if you did it digitally or doing something like that, as long as you're focusing on making some type of a record of what it is you're doing, then you're going to have success. You have a better chance of success anyways, of achieving the resolution of what you want to, who you want to become at the end of 22. And the challenge I'm going to ask you to do is to find that tool that works for you. It doesn't need to be extravagant. It just needs to be a little bit. You can go back, listen to the podcast. I'll give you 7 steps there. You can make your own little notes. The thing is that you want to embody and live this daily. It's not about what happens in December of this year. It's about, what are you doing today? What are you going to do tomorrow morning? How are you going to take on the next day? So it's about living in the now with us. And so with that, gentlemen, I just wanted to start you off with 2022 with a little bit of an idea of how you can make this be powerful for you. And so with that, I'm going to leave you go today. So may your 2022 be filled with passion, purpose, prosperity, and power, gentlemen. Aho, I look forward to serving you this year.
Thank you for listening to the Evolving Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is The Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.